Hello, everyone, and welcome to Flawless, a music podcast. My name is Grant, and I'm joined here tonight with my two co-hosts, George.
Hello, music lovers, interesters, and those indifferent but listening to the podcast nonetheless.
What a welcome. And Liam.
I was saying maybe people who aren't interested in music but are listening to us, the most welcome for you, because I have no idea how you got here or what you think you'll get out of this, but we're glad to have you here. Welcome.
And I hope it's of value.
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe you just love the sound of our voices. You hate music enough so much, but you love the sound of our voices.
The dulcet tones.
I feel like sometimes we might be the podcast people put on to go to sleep with.
Okay, I'll take a listen.
Sure.
I'll take a listen anywhere I can get.
Well,
That's fine.
yeah, that's fine. Anything to get us to listen. All right.
Anyone who uses us to go to sleep, maybe sign up for our Patreon, because I think we're providing a real value.
Well, that is
in
actually-
case.
Ooh, that's smooth.
Like that's
a good pitch.
Yeah.
All right. So each episode of Flawless, a host or a guest nominates an album that they think is flawless. And we discuss how they discovered it, what they love about it, and what makes it flawless for them. We have a Facebook group. It's called Flawless Friends and Family.
You nailed it!
Yes.
You did it,
So
Granty.
long. It's taken this long. And that Facebook group is where we discuss all things music that we love and that you love. And we post in there about upcoming episodes and what albums have been nominated. You can find that link in our show notes. Of course, we've got a Patreon and you can back us from as little as $1 a month. It's capped, guys. Get in now. Mm-hmm. And you can access to that will provide you with access to our early episodes, access to the bonus episodes, and the warm, fuzzy feeling inside that you're helping us spread the flawless love. And it's growing.
It grows.
It is growing. Every day.
Patreon keeps sending me emails like, Liam, you grow too much. You've got
Yes,
too much
too
money.
fast.
Too fast.
Too fast. You're flying too close to the sun, Icarus.
Yes, Icarus. Full Icarus.
And
Careful.
we have expenses, guys.
We do. This stuff doesn't come free.
No, who we are or what our hourly rate is.
It's obscene.
The lifestyle we've become accustomed
Yeah.
to.
To listen to albums again and again and again. To write
For
notes.
your listening pleasure.
To handwrite notes on pages.
Ticking
To
twice.
bring.
Red hearts. Typing them.
I visited Office on the way here. $1.50 this cost me. It's out of control.
Out of
Inflation
control
in this
spending.
country.
Obscene.
So it's
Where do we find
disgusting.
the Patreon is the question.
That's it.
Patreon.com/flawlessamp. Now, although I am introducing and hosting this episode, I am not nominating. We have a guest. Yes.
Nice.
You're not nominating.
I'm not, but I'm not sad about that.
Wait, is that what that other person in the room is for?
That is, and her name is Carly, and she has feelings too. Would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Hi, I'm Carly, and yes, I'm another person here in the room with you.
Lovely to see you, Carly.
Thank you, guest.
I'm here from the outer burbs of Brisbane to
Yes.
take you on a journey of albums. But first, yeah,
Your nominated album is, drum roll, please.
my nominated album is INXS Kick.
See the sound, it crashes in all around. It gets in. Now take your hands and raise them up into the air. That's all around you.
Is it because it's a bit sexy?
I was 10 when it came out, so no.
I'm going to go back to
then.
my earlier question. Because
Well, that wasn't answered, was it?
puberty can start at 9 for girls. I'm just saying. So, but what do you do, Carly?
What do I do
Yeah.
What brings you? Or
for a job?
Yeah. Like
I'm-
how are you remunerated?
You do something
For what?
interesting.
I'm an educational designer at a university.
an educational design.
And what does
Design
that
education.
Yes.
I actually work in the micro-credentials unit, so I'm writing little courses, little pieces that you pop together, and you can actually make them into a course. So we're doing some exciting projects at the moment, looking at how to train people in a quick and simple way. So it's something that I trained a long time ago to do, and I'm finally doing my dream job.
That's
Nice.
awesome.
And you're enjoying it then by saying dream job. It's still dream.
I've
you're
been there
enjoying
4
it.
weeks, I think,
Yes.
and no, 5 weeks, and I can honestly say I don't hate it. And for me,
Wow.
that is
That's
incredible. I've
really
had 100 jobs, and I love this
Not
one.
hating a job after 5 weeks is good going.
Yeah, loving it.
So you've had lots of jobs before, and now you feel you've found your groove,
I've
your niche.
landed. I have landed in a really nice space with some really cool people. So I work from home, so I get to listen to my tunes when I want,
Fantastic.
and explore my back catalogue of Australian music.
Well, this.
Yeah, so-
so INXS from Australia.
Some of those tunes are Kick. So Kick is a 6th studio album by Australian rock band INXS, released on 12th of October 1987 through WEA in Australia, Mercury Records in Europe, and Atlantic in the US and Canada. And it's important to say US and Canada and Europe because this was a worldwide international smash hit.
Wasn't it just-
Absolutely was.
Sixth
Do you know how
album.
they got their name?
No.
They lived in excess.
They were inspired by UK British rockers XTC and how they used the initials to spell that out, and they decided that INXS was a really good way of naming their band.
Nice.
They were.
And I'm a massive XTC fan.
I've
and I
only just
have
put that together now.
Ecstasy.
Such is my naivete.
Oh my God, look
I was
at
like,
you.
wow.
Oh, the penny
no,
drops.
Yes,
yeah.
and
I was
so-
once a blonde.
There you go.
Once a
That's
blonde, always a blonde.
Tell us more about how you came across Kick.
So
Honestly.
you
as a
are
wee
As a
10-year-old.
10-year-old, yeah.
10-year-old.
Okay, so this is the coolest story ever.
I love it.
And
Nice.
I will tell this story
Set
at any given moment.
Set the bar high.
Yeah, here we go.
You'll see on my water bottle there, I was on Mastermind, and my subject was INXS.
No.
Oh yes, please don't Google it. Please don't Google it. I was suffering from these crazy migraines at the time, and I didn't do particularly well on my key subject. But I can tell you the story.
Sorry, for key subject, you mean like your main subject at
Yeah.
school? Or
No,
you
No,
Mastermind.
INXS. So when you go on Mastermind, you nominate a
Have you
subject.
seen- You haven't seen Mastermind?
It's a quiz.
I've never watched it properly. I understood it, but then this is why. So
Yeah.
for those who don't know, sorry, your key
You
subject,
nominate a subject.
Yes.
Like you choose. You've got to give them a list of 5 different things.
Yes.
And then they
Five
tell
different
you.
subjects.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wanted to do Seinfeld. I wanted to do
You'd love my
Flags of the
missus.
World or something like
Yes.
that. But this is the one that they sort of said, oh, yeah, this will suit us. So then they shoot all these questions at you. But you study really hard beforehand. But I actually got called in to go down about 6 weeks earlier because they had a place.
Yes.
Someone dropped out. So I'm like, yeah, cool, I'm ready. But I was not ready. And I was also suffering from migraines at the time. So you can actually see the moment that my eyes are trying to focus on the
Right.
host. And
Yeah.
I did not do well.
Right.
I was never going to win it. But yeah, so...
Having said that,
So that's when the host gets like fed all the questions
Yeah.
to ask you.
Yeah. So
So
it's
they
Mark
look like
Fennell.
they're clever, but they're not actually clever.
Oh no, but it was Mark Fennell, and that's the reason why I wanted to go on it. He's like this super
Very
cool
cool
guy.
guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wanted to meet him. I met him. Yay. So I told him this story of how I came to INXS. So before I turned 9, it was probably about 2 weeks before my 9th birthday, my aunt and uncle, Auntie Rita and Uncle Greg, took me to their gig at Brisbane Entertainment Centre for my 9th birthday present. So it was when they were touring the album before this, which was Listen Like Thieves.
Yes.
So I was this tiny, tiny little creature who had basically
It's a big
never
night,
been
eh?
to a
Yeah.
gig before. I think it's different now because I've taken my daughter to gigs and there's a lot of kids around. But this
I went
was
to
like,
Glastonbury when I was 4 months old.
yeah, I wasn't 4 months, but I was the only person allowed to stand on the chairs so I could actually see.
yeah.
And when they then toured this album, I would have been 10 years old or 9. My uncle and I went to that one as well. So my first gig and my second gig, and I saw them throughout the sort of late 80s, early 90s, until they became not cool enough, because that's when I started to get into your Nirvanas and your Pearl Jams and things like that, and INXS were like, shame.
Yeah.
So I haven't actually gotten back into them until probably the last 5-10 years.
Nice.
That's
So
awesome.
they were very prolific. We said this was their 6th album. So they released, this was their first album in 1980. So they did 6 albums in 7 years.
They were a hard-working band.
What settled, I guess, what made you pick this one? Have you gone back and listened to the other ones? Do they hold up? I mean,
Is it because it sold 20 million worldwide?
yeah, I have an
Yeah.
idea of like,
Three times.
which we'll talk about when we get to whether I've heard this album or not. But yeah.
Yeah, so the other, a couple of weeks back, I was, before I started work, I was in a bit of a mood. I put the album on and it made me automatically happy. It just brought this joy to my step. I was dancing around the living room. It was like dancing like no one was watching. I happened to put on Facebook, what's an album that makes you happy every time you listen to it? And I put a snapshot of Kick, and Liam said, would you be prepared to defend that? And I went, yes, I will. And here I am.
And here
So
you are.
that's why I
Wow.
picked this album. I absolutely adore Listen Like Thieves. I love Shaboo Shabba. I love The Swing. Anything pre this, I adore. One album, maybe 2 albums after this, I like. But then after that, I wouldn't have even, rated them.
So you kind of fell away, but still while Michael Hutchence was in the band and alive?
Yeah. So once he passed away, I was of the feeling that they should have disbanded.
Correct.
Because
Yeah.
they
they
called
not?
themselves
No,
brothers.
no,
It got weird. It got weird.
True INXS fans, put your hands over your ears because you're going to hate this. They did a reality TV show to find a new frontman and found this like 19-year-old. So
Yeah.
John Stevens,
John
who's
Stevens
like
had a crack.
had a crack at it, and a couple of other
Some
like,
other
Is it like
semi-famous
when
dudes.
that guy joined Queen and everyone's
yes,
like,
I think
that's
INXS did
weird.
it first.
Yeah, they did it
Oh, wow.
first.
Yeah,
Correct.
these
They
were the
didn't-
first guys.
yeah.
A young guy named
Definitely.
JD Fortune, I think it
Yeah.
was. Like 20 years old. So basically, they looked at him and they could see Michael Hutchence when he was 20 years old. But the rest of the band were 50 at the time. It's like, this does not...
It
Like
was
Stone
so
Temple Pilots
gross.
weird.
And
Yeah.
Scott
Yeah.
Weiland, like it
Oh,
was just.
yeah.
And I saw it
Yeah.
when we saw them at River Stage. We spoke about it. Oh,
Yeah.
I remember you talking about that band, and I saw them with Scott Weiland, and I
Oh.
refuse. I've got this feeling of if you lose a frontman, say goodbye. Like,
Yeah.
especially this band,
If you
because
lose
they'd
a-
actually gone.
So many bands.
They went to school together.
If you lose
So
a front band, you start Foo Fighters.
yeah, you start
Correct.
a new.
Yeah.
You start a new band. So these guys were on record, and this is what really gets under my skin. They were on record saying if we ever lost one of us, we would no longer be a band, because there's 3 brothers in the band.
Yeah.
The 3 other guys, they all went to high school together. Like, they grew up together, and then they lost their frontman, the one who everybody knew, and then they went and auditioned for some 20-year-old on reality TV. And my sister had this theory of, well, they're all musicians, they've got to earn a living. It's like, I'm not telling them to not play music. They don't have to give up music,
Correct.
Yeah.
but create something new. Like, they were playing Twin Towns or something. I just felt
Not
really
good.
sad for them. Sorry, I get really emotional about this.
Jesus. No, I
Fine,
agree.
but I can see
So-
why you've brought it, so that's fair.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you want to introduce the members of the band? Who
Yeah.
does what?
So
You got
you've got the 3 Farris brothers.
Mm-hmm.
Andrew is the one who's given most sort of musically
to the-
credit.
that?
Yeah.
He writes most,
He
He writes most of the
lyrics on
music.
Michael.
Yeah, Michael writes most of the lyrics. Then you've got John, who's the drummer, Tim, who's the guitar player. So they're the 3 brothers and Michael. Then you've got Kirk, who is the saxophone player.
Yeah, he is.
And you've got Gary Beers. And
Yeah.
there is a story
Is
to
there a
why.
story?
There is, and I can't even remember
Because it's
it.
Gary spelled
2 different ways. One with 2 R's and one with 1 R. But
Yeah.
yeah, so he's bass. Isn't he?
Yeah, he's
yeah.
bass.
So it was the 6 guys, and after that they don't exist in my mind.
Yeah.
There we go.
No, that's fair.
So, George, had you heard INXS?
Had I heard of INXS? Yes.
Did you see them ever?
I'd heard of INXS. I've not seen them. And I'd not listened to an album. However,
Ah.
if you play me Need You Tonight or Never Tear Us Apart, I'll be like, that's INXS.
Yeah.
However, one thing I do remember is being in my friend Sarah's living room
Oh,
when
Sarah. Yes.
Sarah,
Yeah, sure.
yeah, when the news came on about Michael Hutchins
Oh.
passing, and I was in England, so Paula Yates was a really big deal at the time. She was on TV and like she was super popular, and so I knew of INXS more from
That
his
side.
passing
Yeah.
than I
Okay.
did from their music. But Never Tear Us Apart was a song that I've inherently known because it came out in '87. I was 2. So it's obviously been radio played, like, and
A bit.
like I've imbibed it somehow, but I never actively listened to an album. This is the first time.
Cool.
Okay.
Same
Come on,
question.
then.
Same question.
Same question.
No, I'm same position. I'd never heard an album before. I knew of them, knew all the
okay.
singles.
But they're Australian. I
Yeah,
thought
but they were.
just
They're a whole
championed-
generation
by the time
before.
I
You just missed it.
I
Yeah.
recognised all their songs from AM radio and listening. Well, my parents used to listen to that around the house. I'm like, yeah. So I've never heard an album until I heard this album, and then I went, I know like 3/4 of this album. So
Correct.
I've never
Yeah.
heard it and sat down and listened to it,
Yes.
but I still knew like half of it before we even got started. So.
Yeah.
Good opportunity to plug a gap in my musical knowledge, but hadn't heard of them before or seen them or had anything to do with them.
This is the best.
So
Grant.
Grant,
Tell us about your
Grant,
past.
tell us
INXS
how
experience.
much you know about INXS.
It's so unusual to listeners, and thank you because today is a good day. I owned
Nice.
this album.
Oh.
I'm going to go back a little bit to a prompt. Obviously, I'd heard a lot of songs like yourself about Kick. We might be the same age. In 1985, I was 7.
You're a couple of years younger than me.
So
yeah.
this I wouldn't have known about, but on radio play, all the rest of it. In 1992, there was an Australian surf film by a guy called Jack McCoy from memory called The Green Iguana, which contained the song Heaven Sent off the 1992 album that was released later called
Welcome to wherever you are. Yep.
Correct.
Their last good album.
Their last album that they wrote before he passed away, actually.
Wow.
Correct. So that I just took some screenshots, so forgive me while I read out who was on, what other artists were on The Green Iguana. Damien Lovelock,
Oh.
INXS Ed Cooper,
Oh.
Dubrovnik's
Brisbane.
Sublime, The Cruel Sea, Hunters and Collectors, Steve Jones, Vanilla Chainsaws, Yoto Yindi and the Celibate Rifles. It's an amazing soundtrack. It's an amazing surf film and
Yeah,
iconic.
right.
But they had Heaven Sent, and I was like, Heaven Sent is a great track. I need the album. Bought the album, and then I got the best of. And I apologise that younger me used to buy best ofs, but it was easier that way.
It's fine.
So I not only had one album, I had 2. Even if you can't.
The albums used to be expensive, yeah? Like it used to be all of your pocket money
Yeah,
to
oh,
buy an
correct.
album. And
Yeah, right.
you were taking a risk. You were
Yeah.
like taking
Oh.
a gamble for 2 songs sometimes.
Correct. So I own the best of still.
Yep.
And on cassette, I think I bought.
But you
their
hadn't
last-
heard
Beautiful.
Kick
But I hadn't heard Kick in. Well, not intentionally listened to
until
Kick
you listen to the
end.
best of, and
But-
then you got like half.
well,
you get like half of Kick.
You correct.
I have
Yeah.
Kick on cassette. I've actually
nice.
got almost all of them on cassette and vinyl. I don't have one single INXS CD.
Right.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay.
So, big worldwide international smash, number 1 in Australia, Canada, and New Zealand, number 3 in the US, which is no
Huge.
mean feat, number 9 in the UK. At the 1988 MTV Video Music Awards, they were the most nominated and most awarded artists, winning 5 of their 9 nominations, including Video of the Year and Viewer's Choice. Marked the first instance, one of a few instances in VMA history where the same artist and music video won both awards at the same ceremony. So one of the rare occasions where the people's vote and the, I guess, critics' vote for
Aligned.
a better thing actually
Right.
aligned, which is
And they
fantastic.
are 7 times platinum in Australia
Yes.
and 6 times platinum in the US.
US.
Which is
Yes.
That
way
is
3
harder.
times in the
George.
UK.
3 times in the
And
UK.
platinum in France and New Zealand.
Platinum in the US is
And
actually
you-
a million, versus
Yeah.
in Australia it's like 50,000 or something.
Yeah, exactly. So they had 5 singles Need You Tonight, Devil Inside, New Sensation, Never Tear Us Apart, and Mystify.
4 of those went to the Billboard Top 10.
Yeah.
There you go.
And, which makes it all the more surprising, we almost didn't get this album.
Can I tell the story?
You can tell the
It's your
story,
story to
absolutely.
tell.
It's your-
Please, Colin.
Definitely.
So-
I only read it from a wiki page, so go for it.
So Chris Murphy went overseas to the record company in the States with the album. He was the manager, and they said, it is a pile of shit. Here's $1 million. Go back and re-record it. It's garbage.
Start again for $1 million.
Wow.
For $1 million bucks. Start
Take
again.
this
$1 million
million.
incentive.
Yeah.
Take this $1 million in a suitcase. I don't know if it's in a
Whatever.
suitcase. This
I
is
like
my
the suitcase
story.
image.
Yep.
Yeah,
It was,
sure.
There's the
it was
image.
the 80s. It had to be in a suitcase.
Of course.
There was no bank
Or a
transfer.
duffel bag. Like
duffel
a fucking
bag.
duffel
Yeah.
bag.
Exactly. And he said no. He said, fuck you. I don't know if he said that, but I just
That's
want
what
to
we
say
think
that
he
on the
said.
radio. He said, I'm going to make this work. And he had contacts. This guy had this commercial brain that was the backing behind their talent. So, yes, they made great music, but he was a genius in terms of business, is the impression that I get. And he went to college radio stations. He got the kids loving it. It got radio play. It got momentum through the college radio system
In America.
in America, and that's what blew it up. They did not change a note.
Cool. Good for
That's a
them.
cool story.
Astonishing. Like,
Isn't
we could have
it?
just not had Kick. We could have just had
Yeah.
something else that was, I guess, closer to Listen Like Thieves, because that's what they were coming off. And the label was like, we want another hit like Listen Like Thieves.
Yep.
And this, from, I don't know what Listen Like Thieves sounds like, but apparently it didn't sound anything like this.
It's so much more guitar-y,
Right.
which
Okay.
is why I love it. This one is a bit more funk
This
and a
is
bit
super
more
80s
groove
dance,
and
synth,
yeah,
electronic
yeah,
stuff. Yeah.
yeah.
Kind of bluesy stuff in
Yep.
there too, right?
Exactly. And so it was a step away from what
Hmm.
they'd already done. Bit of I like your old stuff better than your new stuff. But they actually they were on record saying that they wanted to create an album that could all be singles. So they were really focused. I think they got a lot of confidence out of the success of their previous album, and they worked their butts off because they wanted to achieve success. It wasn't in the days of like, don't sell out. It was like, we want to sell records. We want
Yeah,
we
and
want
that's-
fame. And they were really open about that. And
Yeah.
that's why their manager and them just worked so well together, because they were both so driven.
And you're coming towards the end of the 80s, so a lot of your stuff is dancey. Even in the rock parts, it's very dancey,
Yeah.
dance hall. We keep saying synths a lot, but it's like, guitars and keyboards working together and that sort of
Saxophone.
thing.
Saxophone.
Yeah,
yeah.
and
So many
saxophone.
saxophones.
Saxophone, which I, loved for a long time since like those jazz.
Yeah.
So very much enjoy that when it comes to like 80s pop rock. So yeah.
There's a lot of that in this album, isn't there?
There is, yes. And
Kurt
so-
really gets a lot of space, and that's what I love about this album.
Thank
is that
you,
they
Kurt.
acknowledge their talents. There's piano in there, there's saxophone in there. They make sure that everybody gets a go.
So where do you want to start on this album?
I would like to start at Need You Tonight.
Nice.
So
Yes.
Need You Tonight was actually
Is that a drum machine at the beginning?
yep.
Good.
Yep. I was actually going to bring, I've got some drumsticks that John the drummer used and signed that are actually all
Stop
chipped,
it.
all chipped around the edges.
Yeah.
Yeah, my dad actually used to manage a bank, and some guy needed a favour. I don't know. I
some
never
more
found
questions.
out. I
Yeah.
never found out. But all of a sudden, my dad had a signed set list, guitar picks, all.
Is your dad a mobster?
I don't know. It was all very suburban.
He's a
That's
mobster.
what
Yeah.
mobsters. That's the
Yeah, that's what
operandi.
they all do.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Is your mum
maybe.
called Juliana and she sits around with big tits all day?
No, I can't say that. No,
Smokes long
no.
sneezing.
So yeah, Need
So-
You Tonight remixed into One of My Kind by Rogue Traders.
Really?
Yes.
I did not know that.
Okay. Yeah. So
How did I not know that?
Rogue Traders, who are like
I know Rogue Traders, but I'm trying to picture how
Yeah.
it's.
So remember, Rogue Traders, they blew up on Sound of the Drums, Here Come the Drums, with the lady from
Neighbours.
and they became like this really super dance pop group.
Yes.
Before that, they were actually a bit more like quote unquote serious like dance electronica group.
Okay,
And
yeah.
yeah, they did they remixed Need You
This.
Tonight into One of My Kind, which is Yeah. So it's so good.
Did not know that.
Yeah,
I'm going to
it's
have to
so
check that
good.
out.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, did you know that Beck and his friends redid this entire album? It is glorious.
Nice.
Music fans, you have to hear it.
Yeah.
Really?
It is stunning. A couple of the songs, they changed the words completely.
Beck did this.
Yeah, Beck and a whole
Whatever,
bunch
yeah,
of...
yeah.
It's called Beck and Friends or something.
Yeah.
That's all right.
It's all on YouTube. One of the guys actually singing it is from Australia, so he's got an Australian accent.
Nice.
And, it is mind-blowing. I only discovered it just this week, so highly
That's
recommend.
awesome.
Cool.
Yeah,
Check
the
that
whole
out.
album.
we love
Yeah.
a bit of Beck, so that'll go a long way.
So yeah,
Sure.
so Need
Yeah,
You
so
Tonight,
Need
it's
You
like
Tonight.
low and slow, like
Oh.
slinky and funky
Sure.
and all super
Oh.
sexy.
If I had triple ticks on my,
Yeah.
I would have give
There's
it.
He does,
harmonies at
he
the
does-
end of sentences.
He does call and response with himself.
Oh,
Okay.
yes,
Oh,
it does,
and why
doesn't
wouldn't
it?
he?
It was
Huh?
played, so we sometimes talk about how I used to go to rock clubs underage, let's say, and it was definitely played in rock clubs when I was underage, and it was one of those sultry songs that people would like look at each other and lock each other's eyes and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's how
Love
I knew
it.
that track.
I can honestly say I've never heard INXS played in a club, but I haven't been to those kind of clubs. So that's interesting.
No, it definitely
yeah.
would have been played in
There's
the
a,
USA,
there is
sure.
a story to the riff on Need You Tonight, which was that they'd finished recording the album, but they hadn't quite got there just yet. And the producer was like, no, I need more. And a couple of the guys had a flat in Hong Kong, and Michael was in Hong Kong and Andrew was in Australia. And he was just getting into the cab to go to the airport to get over to Hong Kong to write more with Michael. And the idea for the riff came into his mind. So he's like, hang on, mate. Just told the cabbie to wait. Ran inside. I'll be back in a sec. And apparently 45 minutes later, he got to the cab and the
I
cabbie
read that
wasn't
somewhere
very,
as
very
well.
happy. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's absurd.
So that
love it.
particular
But
riff
it would
was
only
like,
happen in the 80s, right? Or
oh, because
like-
otherwise the
they
cabbie
gotta
would leave,
leave it-
wouldn't
Yeah.
they?
Yeah, my Uber doesn't wait more than 2
2
minutes
minutes.
if I need a
The
lift.
soak's recording a track, like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
or writing it down. Yeah. So.
Yeah. So,
Well,
yeah.
if the meter's clicking, you just
Yeah.
wait to get paid, right? But
Yeah.
the rock stars in the back.
But it's like he's out in a club and he's out partying and stuff, and he keeps seeing this woman. Like you can just picture it straight away, the slowness and the funkiness. He keeps seeing this woman. He's got to have her. He keeps, she's always off in the distance or just always out of reach. And he's doing the slow, sexy lyrics. Like, she's sexy, but he's also sexy, and we'll talk about his sexiness a lot. And you can see there's that interplay, and you can feel that they're vibing off each other. But when they do the call and response, the inner voice of his is like screaming. So it's like where he goes, how do you feel? I'm lonely.
I'm lonely.
What do you think? Can't think
think
at
at
all.
all.
What you going to do? Going to live,
live
my
my
life.
life.
And so the second parts of each of those are his inner voices screaming, like not being cool at all. Like, I am not
Yeah,
cool. I am
I'm not
not
handling
cool.
this, dude.
I need
Oh my
this
God, oh
woman,
my God, oh
but
my
I'm
God.
going to be cool
Yeah.
and sexy
Yeah.
about it. It's so like there's a
Can I
depth.
just point out that Liam just did
I
like
keep
this
doing the sexy
movement?
dance.
He just
This is my-
he's
that's-
doing like a little wiggle.
That's
He's
the
doing a
sexiest dance I
sexy,
have.
a sexy wiggle.
He's
which
giving it all he's got.
Like if I just imagine that I know his wife, and if she saw that wiggle, she'd be like, "We're on tonight, babes." Like it's that kind of wiggle.
yeah.
That's what INXS does to Liam.
It does. Like, even having never heard them before, I'm just like, this is a super sexy guy all the way through. Like, designed to be that 80s pinup guy.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah,
put him in a
right.
magazine, like, put him front and center in a magazine. And because the rest of them,
Oh, they're so unattractive.
I don't want to body shame or anything, but this is
But you-
the
but you're
the
gonna-
guy, and you put everyone else in the background, you make
And
him as
there's
small as
the
you
ladies.
can,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you put him right up front if you need them at all, because it was just,
It was. And that's why I love the fact that they do let the other guys have their solos and really do allow them to be musicians as well, because he was obviously the main man, the one that got the media attention, the one that got the supermodels and the Kylie Minogues and whatnot. He was always in the media. And apparently he wasn't really a kind of an arrogant asshole either. Apparently he was so down to earth. And you listen to interviews of people who knew him throughout when he became so famous. There were 72,000 people at Wembley Stadium worshipping him on a stage, and he was still down to earth, and he was still this guy from Sydney who was nice, lovely.
Down to earth
Yeah,
as
yeah.
you could be
Yeah,
on the back of that sort of fame.
yeah.
But I think that his character that comes through so solidly through all the music is what, like, this was the first album I'd ever heard of theirs, and after one album, I'm like, don't keep going after he stopped. Like, for people who were
Yes.
like 10 albums in who lost their minds over it, and normally I'd be like, oh, whatever, just let people play, let them make their money, whatever. But no, now I'm like one album INXS fan. I'm like, no, they should have stopped. This band should not have existed without Michael Hutchins.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Absolutely, 100%. And
That's-
yep,
Yeah, so Guns in the Sky. Mm-hmm. So there was that kind of noises.
Which people would have heard because it opens up the song, so they would have heard it.
Opens
when
up
it
the
drops.
Yeah, so
album.
you heard it, right? And the percussion, guitar riff, and the shouty, spitty vocals. So 80s. Like, you can't
You
get
know
away from
that it's
You know
80s.
right now, you're like, this isn't ironic 80s. This is true blue 80s.
Yeah, embracing it.
Absolutely.
Embrace it. Good, correct.
With the harmonies, the vocals, but like with the dirty solo as the outro of the first track. And so, yeah, that's how they introduced the album in like just under 2.5 minutes. You're like, okay,
Yeah.
this is the journey we're going on, guys. So I'd not heard the album before, so I was like, okay, strap myself in. I'm wearing a shell suit. And
where's
I've
your
got
shoulder pads? Are you ready?
pink eyeshadow, and I am ready
Excessive,
to
yeah.
go. So,
Rouge.
yeah.
So I think
Awesome.
all the songs on the album were written by both Michael and Andrew, except this one, which was just written by Michael, and Mediate, which was just written by Andrew. But all
That's
the rest
right.
of them were like a joint,
Yes.
a joint
Yeah.
effort. But yeah, real cool. Like, because when I saw the track list, I was like, oh yeah, I know the singles that are coming up, like the pop singles, the real
Oh,
pop stuff.
sorry, Mediate. No, you said Mediate, right?
Mediate, yeah. And it's an unusual way to start the album, not opening up with like you could totally see this album opening with New Sensation and
Absolutely.
just coming in straight on that riff would have been so cool. But
Absolutely.
to do something which is not hooky, it's staccato and there's no long sort of flowing vocals. Like it's not necessarily playing to his strengths as a vocalist either. But just
True.
like sticking at stuff is an interesting choice.
Yeah, yeah.
But New Sensation,
So good.
that guitar riff is the most 80s thing
Yeah.
ever, right?
Oh, isn't it?
So, like, you can imagine that being in the background to any John Cusack movie.
Oh, yeah.
Which is awesome. So drum machine again, call and response chorus, and saxophone. So
Yes.
I've got that in exclamation marks because I get quite excited about like brass in an album, and the fact that it wasn't like they brought in a saxophonist to play on a couple of tracks, which we've had in a few other albums.
Yeah.
They have a saxophonist in the band.
Yep, absolutely.
It's
And
like
he
Billy
was
Joel
there. Yep.
always had a saxophonist in the band, which means I have huge respect because I'm a Billy Joel fan. So
Didn't
so
you nominate a...
I did, and you did not name it Flawless, just for the
We've
record.
moved on,
Just-
though, haven't we? I mean,
Pure energetic joy. This
Isn't
song.
it?
Yeah,
I
isn't
just
it?
love it.
Yeah.
Like,
Have you seen the film clip?
no.
No.
The film clip. There's
I don't
there's
recall
two
it.
from this album actually filmed in Prague. That was one of them, and we'll come to the other one, I'm sure. But it was on top of the opera house in Prague, and their suits are so shoulder padded. They're almost triangular. It is so beautiful.
Is that the one like it's at night time and
Yep.
they're out on a balcony
Yep.
and he's standing in front
Yep.
of the... Yeah, no,
Yep.
okay, I did see that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
But
and
yeah,
I think
it's
there's
too-
like a shot inside a hotel room or something like that.
Yeah, I
and
think I only saw, like, little
It's
bits
one
and
of the two
glimpses of
Prague
it, yeah.
films.
The artwork of the album looks like New Kids on the Block.
Yeah, I don't think it's... Unfair.
New Kids on the Block looked like an excess.
Yes.
Yeah, they
Okay,
actually copied
yeah,
them.
that's
Yeah.
fine. But in Devil Inside,
That's okay then.
Devil Inside, there are sultry vocals.
Words, weapons, sharpened knives, makes you wonder how the other half died.
There is a solo, and there are keys. There are keys in there, so that is a very exciting thing to have.
Is it-
Guitar riffs, driving drums, sultry vocals.
Heart? Was there heart on
His
that one?
There's
vocals
all
in that.
hearts.
His vocals
Yeah.
are amazing in that song.
I think all the way through the album, I don't,
Oh.
actually, there's always been a lot of, obviously, I probably knew him as much as a paparazzi celebrity style person as much as a front person. And it's not until you actually listen to albums like this and you realize, like, I
He
wish
had
like the whole
talent.
celebrity stuff just hadn't happened, because it
Yep.
feels like he would have had a much better life and a longer life, and
Yep.
he just could have stayed as the front man, which it feels like he wanted to do.
He had
Yeah.
so
But his-
much talent.
Yeah,
So
just his
much.
delivery
The brain
and just
injury
his
was stuff
style.
up, right?
Yeah. So, and this one, Devil Inside, feels like it's a slow burn to build up to something, but then it never does. It just keeps you at that low level, and you feel like, oh, is it going to explode? No, we're just gonna stay at
Yep.
this low, sexy level all the way through. So cool.
This is true.
Any other ones,
So,
Come on, never
In
tear us
co-
apart.
Carly? Sorry.
Can we
yeah.
talk about Never Tear Us
We
Apart?
could.
Please,
Yeah,
I would love you
definitely.
We
to.
cannot not.
This is
so
this is
let's-
on you. You need to be
never
providing us.
tear us apart.
I would just like to say, if I ever hurt you, I'll make wine from your tears. Came up on my Facebook the other
I
day.
saw that one. From the
That was my sister.
Yeah.
Yes.
Some of the most interesting lyrics. This song has been covered by lots of people, so much so that when I was doing some research for this show, when I actually looked it up, there was, you know how Google comes up with other questions you might like to answer. There were heaps of, who originally sang Never Tear Us Apart? It's like, how could you not
Yeah.
know?
Is that even
How
a
dare you.
question?
It must be like a 12-year-old or something who's heard someone else do it.
It's probably on TikTok.
Oh,
And
exactly.
we don't even know. So
I wouldn't
it's
even
fine.
know. So the film clip for this song never ceases to give me chills. Prague is my favourite city in Europe. Charles Bridge is my favourite bridge in the world, and it's all set around there. It's misty, it's moody. He's wearing a big black coat. You've got
remember that
Kirk doing his solo. It's just magic. So this song to me is absolutely perfect, despite the making wine from tears.
Yeah.
Everything about
I
it.
saw when your sister posted it, and I was like, because I bumped on the same lyric, and I was like, if I ever hurt you, I'd make wine from your tears. That doesn't sound like an apology, Michael. If you hurt someone, it's like, I would apologize and then try and get something good out of it. He's like,
Yeah.
if I hurt you,
And I'm gonna get drunk on your-
if I hurt you, I would turn that into a positive for myself.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
So
right.
I'll
Okay,
collect
right.
your tears.
I'd be tipsy.
Cheers.
Oh,
So, yeah.
cheers to you for
But,
these.
but the vocal pattern fits perfectly into the syncopation of the song, so we'll give him a pass on that one.
But there's a synth. So you have to forgive him because
Yeah,
there's a
so
synth.
it sounds like an orchestral suite, but it's not. It's just them
Yeah.
playing stuff on synths.
Yeah.
So I found an interview where Andrew Ferris went through sort of track by track, and he said about this one, it's just us playing live with no overdubs. The drum take is the same as what's on the album, but there's a different arrangement, different vocal, sax part, and there's no strings. So he went and sort of dug up some demos. But he was like, wow, the demo, just the song didn't change from when they did the demo all the way through to the final version.
Because
that you
there's
get.
moments of silence.
Yep.
Du, du, du,
Dum,
dun.
dum, 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 dum.
And then wait.
Exactly. So and you're just there and you're holding your breath.
Yep.
And you're waiting for that moment to come back in again.
And it does.
And it does. And
you're
you
happy.
are rewarded.
Yes.
So for the AFL fans out there, Port Adelaide, they play this song at the start of every Port Adelaide home game,
That's right.
up to the point where it dum 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 dum, and it stops, and then that's when they bounce the ball and they go, and the whole crowd gets their Port Adelaide scarves and holds them up, and so you've got a sea of like maybe 40,000 people.
Yeah.
Swaying back and forth, and they focus on the Never Tear Us Apart thing, because there was a little bit for a while there where they thought the AFL didn't want them to be a club, so it's one of those things
really?
where it's
Yeah.
like, we'll stand together, and all
Us against
the
them.
celebrity fans are like, come on people, get the we'll show that AFL we're a club, they can't tear this club from us, and so they adopted this as their theme song.
Okay.
And so they play it before the start of every home game, and the whole crowd just sings along all the way through to the part, and then like there's a big clap, and then you got the AFL siren
And
just
then it
kicks in
goes.
straight after.
So I'm not allowed to do soundtracks, right? But there is a soundtrack from a musical in the 50s called Carousel, which has a track called Never Walk Alone, which in the Premier League is
Liverpool.
Liverpool,
Yeah.
Never Walk Alone.
You'll never walk alone.
Yeah, you'll never walk alone.
So
But
very-
I can't bring Carousel because it's a musical and it is written by multiple people, and so I can't bring it to Flawless. So this is my only chance to mention Never Walk Alone.
YNWA.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which a lot of people have tattoos
Yeah.
of just that.
they really
It's a
fucking
hashtag
do.
on
And
Twitter
it's
as well.
from
Yeah.
a 1950s musical about ballerina, but it doesn't matter. It's awesome. Anyway, so Mystify was their 5th single. Honky Tonk Piano, right?
Yeah. Dance hall honky tonk piano
Yep.
out of nowhere.
Yeah. Where did that come from?
It came from Andrew, the musical genius.
There are, I'm going to put this out there. You know how, so I have a thing like cheerleader shouts and hand claps and harmonicas and stuff. I'm going to add finger clicks.
Yes, that's what I was about to say too. It opens with
There
the
we
piano
go,
and
yeah.
finger clicks.
Finger clicks, which I can't really do, but yeah, finger clicks. In an entire song, I am on board with.
Yeah.
Like, and it's quite
And deservedly so.
it's quite sparse into the verses. Like, so the honky tonk piano, finger clicks, and vocals, and there's like sparsity, and then it goes into like guitar riffs, etc. But yeah, so that was their 5th single. But I'm all down for the finger clicks.
Yeah. Grant, any double ticks that we haven't
Oh,
mentioned already?
I like, well, from Mystify to Kick, I thought Kick's absolutely great as well.
So
Sax,
good.
or, yeah.
Full
Yeah,
band,
full
funky.
band.
Yeah, full band.
Power
like,
rock opening. Just like,
There it is.
Michael once said this was his Zen song because sometimes you kick and sometimes you get
Get
kicked.
kicked.
And in hindsight, this is something like 10-year-old me obviously didn't get. But in hindsight, I look back and I think, that's something that I could really adopt. That's something that I could live by. You know, sometimes shit doesn't go your way, but other times it goes your way. And I think those lyrics, even though sometimes Michael's lyrics are a little bit cheesy, I think those lyrics
Cheese is
nail
okay.
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Nail
he leans into the cheesiness of the 80s.
Yes.
Yeah, he embraced it.
lyrics.
He
I think
embraced
is
it,
his
though,
thing.
for
Like, I
sure.
don't, yeah.
If you want to talk about cheesy lyrics, can we talk about Calling on
Yes.
Nations?
Well, just one more thing on Kick before we go off. Like, it's almost punky, and when I hear the horn line, I'm always reminded of the Saints.
Yes.
Like which is so weird because like why are INXS trying to sound like a punk band from Brisbane? They're not, of course they're not. But it's just, there's just really similar
Okay.
lines on that
Yeah.
song. But it's so like it's when I first listened to the album, this is the point where I'm like, okay, I know they can do slow songs. So after track 9, last 3 they're probably going to slow it down. This is the point where they start lowering down, and then it's like bang,
Bang.
Kick. Holy crap! Like you've got this
Big one,
big
yeah.
party
It's
song,
a big one, yeah.
followed by another slightly cheesier big party song in Calling All
All
Nations.
Nations.
George.
Yeah, where the cheesy lyrics come out
Yeah.
of.
No,
Now, if nobody has lyric buddies with me, you weren't listening to the song.
I do, but I don't
didn't
have
write
those
it
lyrics
down.
because I had other lyrics already. So I
Okay,
only
that's
go
fine.
one
Well,
lyric
you
at a
can
time.
keep me
Yeah.
enjoying
With
myself
the sex
with
dance
the
that is
sex
necessary
dance.
is very funny.
Yeah, like that made me genuinely have a little giggle when it came up on Genius lyrics.
well, I actually put it on Facebook yesterday and said no one could accuse Michael of not writing cheesy lyrics.
Yes.
It's
But because in the Andrew Ferris thing, he was like, oh, we really wanted to write a song that brought people together. and
yeah.
I'm like, all right, calm down, Andrew. You're not like leading Band Aid or anything.
Yeah, it's like World Aid, you know, or like Live
Like,
Aid, forgive me.
Cool
Whatever.
that it's Calling All Nations, but also it's just coming
It's a
down,
party song.
come down and party song and have
Yeah.
a drink with us after a long day of work. Like,
Yeah.
not bad, but I don't think that's going to unite the world the way you think it might.
No, it wasn't a
that's cheated a
Benetton
bit
ad or
hard.
anything. No.
But it does lead into Tiny Daggers, which is keys, harmonies, riffing guitars, and it's a really good outro.
Yeah, really good last track.
Uplifting with a fade out. I like a fade out at the end of an album because I can put it on when I go to bed. And it fades out, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to sleep now. This
And
is
It's a
nice.
great end to an album.
The instrumentation's a bit like Springsteen, which they would have been listening to a lot in the
course.
80s all the way through with the E Street.
Oh,
Band as
yeah, I
well.
was going to
So,
say, there's
Yeah.
been Springsteen
sprinklings of Springsteen. Yes, I went there. Yes, it's a dad joke. I did.
I like it.
Thank you for doing what I needed to. So that was awesome. Yeah.
Any other ones you want to talk to? We spoke just about all of them, I
we're
think.
bouncing on time. So yeah, any other last?
Can I mention Mediate?
Yeah.
Please.
That one actually won an American, what do they call it? Was it an MTV award?
Yeah.
For Best Film Clip. It was a takeoff of a Bob Dylan film
Yeah.
clip with the
Subterranean.
Subterranean.
that's
Yep.
the one
Yeah.
with the signs up. There were intentional spelling mistakes in there.
And it all ended with an 8 sound.
Yes.
Yeah, like it's like 50 lines almost, and every single line ends with an 8 sound.
Yes.
Yeah.
But almost all of them are different words too. It's not like he just starts repeating lines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was fun. I absolutely love that song, and I think as a 10-year-old, I think I knew all the words. I could probably recite them, but I won't. So yeah, I absolutely love that song. And there's also The Loved One. So
the
Mediate
cover.
is followed by The Loved One. Now, I have to say, they first recorded that song back in about 81, and I prefer... so it's a cover from an Australian band called The Loved Ones, but when they first recorded it, it was really rocky. And then they recorded it again for this album. It's the only cover on any of their albums, and they've made it more bluesy. And
I read that.
I do
Bluesy.
prefer.
I wrote
Bluesy.
Yeah. I
Ian
love
Klein,
it.
Jerry Humphreys, and Rob Lovett.
Yeah.
Yeah,
'Cause
The
did you
Loved
listen to the original?
Ones.
No, I didn't listen to the original.
Yeah, the Loved Ones did a bluesy.
I think it's closer to the original.
Oh,
so
yeah.
it's more like not just taking someone's song and making it our style, but sort of finding that middle ground of like not like following their style without aping it.
Yeah, exactly. I definitely prefer the original, but I do love that version. The original never came on a studio album of theirs. It came on a best of INXS, which I have the vinyl for. I'm sure I need to insure that stuff because it's all pretty rare stuff now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's all I needed to talk about on the
Cool.
albums.
Final pitch then
Yeah.
for
Jump to a final pitch.
their 6th album of INXS.
Sure.
Kick.
So let me find my notes.
Over to you, Kylie. There we go. Yeah.
So as I said before, when they wrote this album, they wanted to make a song of singles. Anything could be a single. And honestly, I don't think even the biggest INXS fan in the world would say that each of those deserves to be a single. But despite that, I honestly think this album is flawless. The weaker songs don't suck. They're meaningful and catchy, even without powerful riffs of Need You Tonight. This iconic album is a testament to the band's musical prowess, creativity, and ability to captivate their audience with unique sounds. The album is a perfect blend of electronic rock pop elements, making it a trailblazer of its time. The album is a masterpiece that stands the test of time, and I'd like to finish with a quote from BBC Music's Cormac Heron. He reviewed the 2004 deluxe edition, and he said, superfluous second disc notwithstanding, this is a near flawless collection of songs.
Wow.
And felt that the production still sounds fresh. The songwriting partnership of Hutchins and Farris wins you over with an anthemic glory.
Nice.
There we go.
That is ending on a quote. Shane trying to.
There we
Look
go.
at you trying to tug on the heartstrings,
There we go.
using the word flawless.
Finding someone else who used the word. What was this?
The man in the BBC said so.
That's right.
You
Can't argue
said
with the
near
BBC.
flawless for the record.
Liam, over to you.
Hello,
In
everybody.
excess kick.
Yeah. So
Thumbs up or thumbs down?
like I said, this was like I hadn't heard any INXS albums, and I'm looking through the track list, going, "Oh yeah." So I obviously knew "Need You Tonight," "New Sensation." I knew "Devil Inside," "Never Tear Us Apart." I'm pretty sure I had actually heard "Kick" before, even though I couldn't. When I heard, it, I was like, "I know this song." So yeah, knew half the album, but always from like AM radio, and I'm like, "Okay, so it's going to be lots of cheesy '80s stuff," and that's cool. So I started listening to it. This is the first time listening to Michael Hutchins properly. I'm like, oh my God, this is just such an iconic performance. And you can feel it, like, even without watching videos or seeing him or knowing what he looks like. Just it oozes that performance all the way through. It's so cool. the awesome thing about this is, so this is a genre that's not way outside. This is a genre that's outside my comfort zone. I don't listen to this sort of stuff normally. And 5 years into Flawless, I've always said when something's not in my wheelhouse and I don't give a Flawless, I'm like, if a Flawless album came along in this genre, even though it's not a genre that I love, I'd know it. Like I'd be able to give something Flawless even though I don't love the genre, I'd still go, oh yeah, I can tell this is a Flawless album.
Mm-hmm.
And so thank you very much to Carly for proving me right after 5 years, because I don't love this genre, but I know this is a Flawless version of the genre. Like like you listen to this and you go, this is like, you know, all the singles are big and hooky, beautiful music all the way behind it. Even the cover in the middle, I thought, sounded like a song they would do. Like, it sounded like a similar sort of vibe, and the subject matter was similar to the stuff that Michael Hutchence normally sings about and writes about. So, yeah, for me, I loved it. It's a pity because I probably won't listen to it again because it is in that genre that I don't listen to. But I'm so glad that I can finally say it's outside my wheelhouse, but I could recognise it as Flawless. And therefore I'm giving it a tick
Well
up.
done.
Cool
Golly.
beans.
Okay, over to you, George.
Okay.
INXS Kick.
So, when you nominated it, the first thing that came to mind was Michael Hutchence, obviously, and like remembering being in my friend's living room when I heard the news, and Never Tear Us Apart was the iconic song for me. And so coming into this album, I was like, oh, thank fuck she's chosen the one with Never Tear Us Apart again. Because I was like, otherwise I'm lost, right? Like I'm completely lost. And I cannot fault their musicianship and what they were trying to achieve. However, the problem I had is that Never Tear Us Apart is very apart from the rest of the album. So, like, the rest of the album, if they didn't have that song in it, would work for me. Because it works in that poppy, like, rocky 80s sound, and it works really well. But I would need to remove Tear Us Apart, or I would need to listen to it like just separately, because it doesn't flow for me between Wildlife and Mystify. Just because it's so, I think the problem with it is too iconic of a track. It's too influential. It's been too out there, and it has like blurred the lines of what I can see as flawless and not flawless. And so maybe actually that's not a problem. Maybe that's actually to their benefit, and it's exactly where it's supposed to be placed. Okay, so I'm going to re-pitch where I'm coming from.
You don't have to read.
Which
Flawless
is,
or not flawless?
I'm going to say, actually, this album set out to do what it was supposed to do, and it flows through, and it happened to have an epic track, and it is a flawless album. So why would I not do that? Just because I really like that one track. So, Carly, yeah, have it. It's a flawless album.
Have it. It's a flawless album.
I will take that.
Go.
Yeah, that was a journey.
That was
That was a
unexpected.
journey.
It was a journey.
Did not see that coming.
Yes.
Right. Final thoughts and a
Right.
thumbs up and a thumbs down.
Yes, there we go. And drum roll. There we go. No pressure, Carly. So I said owned 2 INXS albums. I personally think their last album together is better than this. So if you've enjoyed Kick, I see elements certainly of these songs that have come through in the Welcome to Wherever You Are. Let's say new sensation, Devil Inside, Need You Tonight, Never Tear Us Apart, Mystify, Kick. What I didn't like, and I've got to give you credit for this one, Liam, begrudgingly. The songs I didn't recognize or didn't think were great, I went back and looked who wrote them, and it was literally Guns in the Sky, Mediate, and The Loved One. And I thought it doesn't. All the others are literally Ferris and Hutchence.
Yeah.
pair together. All of them, love them all.
Yeah.
Done. Why the what's the problem? And I looked, and it's the ones that were written either on their own or the cover, and so begrudgingly, yes, and I know your finger in front of the mouth. I'm gonna say no, although I thought I would have been said yes. So,
I thought you were going to say yes, and I thought these two were going to say no. So
There we go. We are complicated.
it's very complex, right?
unpredictable.
Yeah.
And I certainly didn't think Liam would have said yes, but thank you so much, because there were more songs in here that I liked, and
I'm going to go back
they're
and listen
great.
to their last album too.
Please do so, and have a listen.
Last album in quote marks.
Yeah.
Yeah, quote unquote. Guys, thanks everyone for listening. We've got Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We are Flawless AMP and all of those, so you can join the conversation, share or like our posts, or give us a rating. Every little bit helps us find more music lovers like you. As mentioned, we also have that Patreon. It's filling up quick. Please visit patreon.com/flawlessamp. And if you'd like to back us, please check that out. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.